Ah, welcome, viewer. Have you ever wondered what happens when you give a 6'4" golden retriever the crown of England, a bottomless wardrobe budget and a libido that could conquer more than just France? Meet Edward IV, King of England, compulsive shopper, serial lover and part-time warlord. Let's start with appearances, because in medieval monarchy, looking fabulous was half the job. Thomas More described Edward as very princely to behold, which is a 15th century way of saying, this man could bench press a bishop and still look good in crushed velvet. Contemporary chronicler Dominic Mancini added that Edward could be cheerful, gentle, and utterly terrifying when he frowned, which, to be fair, is also how most toddlers operate. His Royal Highness loved to be seen, strutting about in cloth of gold, crimson velvet and green satin, like a walking medieval disco ball. He owned hundreds of hats and slippers. And yes, even his toothpick was made of gold, garnished with jewels. You don't just floss, darling, you floss regally. Also, he ate like Henry VIII before it was trendy. Gorged himself, then threw it all up to make room for round two. A sort of medieval bulimia buffet. Lovely chap. Now, being king wasn't just about fashion and vomiting. Edward also had to play political chess against the ghosts of Henry VI and the ever-lingering threat of people who liked Henry for reasons. Edward's solution: bribe, execute, repeat. Those Lancastrian nobles who bent the knee. Lovely estates for you. Those who didn't? Off to Tower Hill? Bring your sharpest axe. He was basically running a loyalty rewards program with very harsh terms and conditions. When domestic politics got messy, Edward pulled a classic move: blame the French. In 1462, he warned that Louis XI was plotting to wipe out English culture, language, and presumably the nation's supply of boiled meats. Did he actually invade France? No. He talked about it a lot, which, as anyone who's ever worked in management knows, is pretty much the same as doing it. Despite his penchant for couture and chaos, Edward was actually annoyingly competent. He micromanaged trade, taxes, and justice. He knew the names of provincial gentry. He summoned London merchants to tell them what to do, like a medieval Alan Sugar with better calves. He toured the kingdom personally, settling disputes mostly to stop bored nobles from stabbing each other over pig thefts and inheritance squabbles. He used legal commissions called oyer et terminer, Latin for "let's sort this bloody mess out." And now for the royal scandal that really stirred the medieval gossip cauldron. In 1464, Edward secretly married a commoner. Scandalous. Except her dad was a knight and her mum a duchess, so commoner is a stretch, but still she wasn't foreign, which apparently offended everyone. Enter Elizabeth Woodville, widow, mother of two, and the only woman in England who said no to Edward's royal meat sword. Legend says he even pulled a knife on her. Because romance? She held out and he married her. In secret. On May Day. Allegedly while pretending to go hunting. Nothing says healthy relationship like deception and weaponized seduction. Enter stage left. Richard Neville, Earl of Warwick the Kingmaker. Imagine Littlefinger but less subtle and with more banners. He helped Edward to power, but Edward's habit of thinking for himself annoyed Warwick immensely. Especially when Edward ditched Warwick's planned royal marriage alliance with France and instead married a local widow with 12 hungry siblings. Cue tantrums, plots, and ultimately rebellion. Warwick allied with Edward's own brother, Clarence, who had the political instincts of a damp cabbage, and started trying to replace Edward on the throne. The chaos? Oh, it gets biblical. Rebellion in the north, Edward taken prisoner by his own relatives, Warwick ruling in his name, but surprise. He can't rule without the king, because as it turns out, people prefer their monarchs conscious and not locked in dungeons. So Edward's released, the parties smile for the camera, and everything's fine. Until it isn't. More rebellion. Warwick flees to France. And in the most unholy alliance since pineapple met pizza, Warwick joins forces with his arch-nemesis, Margaret of Anjou. Edward returns from exile in 1471 with a handful of troops. A fashionable fur coat, which he had to pawn, and one hell of a grudge. He wins back the crown. Warwick is killed. Henry VI's son is butchered. Margaret is imprisoned. And Henry VI mysteriously dies of melancholy, which is medieval speak for somebody bashed his head in. So what happened after all this royal bloodbath? Edward, possibly England's most stylish warlord, turns into a surprisingly modern king. He boosts trade. He runs fleets. He merchandises. England is stable-ish. The nobility thinned themselves out like bad actors in a horror film, but the economy, thriving. Oh, and Caxton introduces the printing press to England, invented by Johannes Gutenberg in 1440. So everyone can now read how badly everyone else died. So, what did we learn today, viewer? Well, sometimes a king is a walking contradiction. Princely, vain, ruthless, charming, terrifying. Sometimes your brother stabs you in the back, your best mate turns against you, and sometimes being king just means looking fabulous and killing a few rivals. History. Isn't it romantic? Comment below if you found the Easter egg. Follow for more history with sarcasm and dread.